everyone, please take out a piece of paper, any size, and a pen. I'll give you a second to do that. We're gonna do an exercise first to get you into the flow.
I think so.
Yeah, please. Thank you very much, Damien. Okay, you are currently a rifle platoon leader in the land of Swasselberg, which is nowhere modern, nowhere currently in existence. It's a fictional land that I live in when I'm not here. My wife hates it. Okay. Swasselberg, and you are the advance guard for a brigade that has been in pursuit of the enemy for the last 3 days. They're currently full strength rifle platoon, been together for 9 months. Your experience, you've been with them for 9 months under the new cohesion policy that the Army implemented in 2016. Okay. You also have a section of 60mm mortars trailing you by a few feet. But because of your enthusiasm and the enemy being defeated, your company team behind you is about 7 kilometers further behind you, and the task force itself is 10 kilometers further behind that company. So you're kind of strung out as what occurs when armies pursue other armies, especially defeated armies, or you suppose they're defeated armies. The enemy you're fighting is very good, but very outnumbered, and recently defeated when you landed at the Bay of Knowlesville a few weeks ago. They've been retreating and trying to set up defenses, but they're very resilient and have capability to come back. They also had introduced a new SA-29, which has done away with air superiority by the United States, so you don't have air superiority. Your artillery, you've outrun your artillery, so you don't have artillery either. The commander's intent, based on the latest intel, is to seize a large cache in arms manufacturing center of Smallville, which is about 2 kilometers north of a major highway bridge, which can support any vehicles along a rough road. The rest of the terrain is, you've got a 300-foot ridge that runs north and south, intersected at a gap by a trail, which is a rough trail, slow go for vehicles, fast go for vehicles, but it's not a major highway. Intersects here, there's a crossroads here. There's a small ridge behind it. There's a large field and farm complex here with barns and houses and so forth. The rest of your terrain is like around Fort Benning or Fort Knox, rolling hills with pines and thick forest. It's currently 05:30 in the morning in the summer. The sun's getting ready to come up. Your platoon is standing by for orders. You stand by for orders to continue the mission north because, again, you're flush with victory. The enemy's retreating, and we need to go ahead and seize Smallville. At approximately 06 o'clock, there has been a scout that was inserted last night. He does have radio comms, and you intercept a radio message back to the company that there's an enemy force 5 kilometers from this gap of 180 people, well armed with small arms and RPKs, moving this way in a tactical march formation. At 06 o'clock, you're supposed to LD and continue the mission. At 06:01, all radio comms go out. What do? You have 1 minute to write down what your frago is going to be to your platoon and your actions. When I say go, go. Go. Let me move this up for you. Thirty seconds. $15 seconds. 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. Turn over your paper. Okay, who wants to go first and brief what their course of action, what they decided to do? Go ahead, Mike. Now read exactly what you wrote on that paper.
All right. Move north the road intersection, approximately 1 kilometer south of the Muddy River.
Okay.
Reestablish the comms with the scout platoon, and be prepared to engage enemy on the way.
So you're moving north to the crossroads,
Yes.
right? And reconnect with the scouts?
Yes.
That's it? That's all you do?
And then be prepared to engage enemy on the way.
Okay. Okay. Critique. We're going to critique Mike's course of action. What do you think of it?
Just that there's no contact since we won, so it's has a physical impact.
Okay. What else?
I would say that what's the purpose? What are we truly trying to achieve? Is it just getting the comms back up?
It's about, to me, gaining some situational awareness because we've lost.
Talk to them. Right?
Okay. So what I want to do is get ourselves in a position that we could either engage the enemy from a relative position of advantage for that high ground, or link up with the scouts physically to go over there and see where they're at. Because, the purpose is to gain contact with the enemy. So I'm trying to do that as in the least risky way possible right now. We don't know what
Least risky way possible. Is that a Sam's quote?
Yep, that's what I learned.
Who else has got a critique of Mike's course of action or what he chose to do? Not really, it's his decision.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Once you link up, then what? Like, let's say you get there, no contact, then what?
Then, I'll burn that bridge when I come to it. But I'm trying to give something.
I don't think you're supposed to burn the bridge.
Bite size.
You can't
Don't take it out.
Bite size that we could do, that everyone understands, hey, we're gonna move north, we're gonna reestablish contact. One way is either we're gonna find them, or the scouts have found them, and we're gonna reestablish contact.
I get 60 more seconds when I reestablish.
Right, exactly.
The scout, so I can write more stuff on my code.
Okay, anybody else want to critique Mike's course of action or his decision? Okay, who else did something? Go ahead.
I just wonder if it.
Is that your question or your course of action?
Critiquing Mike's.
Okay.
I just wonder if it falls short of the objective. After you secure a link up with the scouts, you get your comms reestablished, you engage the enemy. Have you given enough information to your teams to continue to move forward, move north? Exploit their position relative to the
You're asking Mike to.
I got 60 seconds. What are we gonna do next? And I was trying to give that in clear guidance.
Yes.
I would step back and look at operational.
Is this your course of action or a critique of his?
This is a critique.
Okay.
And look at the operational context. And the question I would ask to this is in the context of a pursuit, I'm out of artillery, I'm out of aerial cover. I have an enemy force arriving from an unknown location. I friendlies forward. Is the seizure of this arms cache of sufficient importance to warrant what is essentially a very high risk operation? So what I would ask is, have we done the right balance of strategic risk against the task that we've been assigned? So we want to execute the order, we want to move out and draw fire, but let's step back and look at the context. We're moving into an unknown. We have no alternatives and no communication. What I would do is take a much more cautious approach before we do it.
When you critique another person's, you provide what I would do. You just critique what he decided.
I would suggest that he consider waiting.
And I'll get into why here in a second. Yes. You want to critique or you want to provide your course of
I
action?
got it, Philip.
Okay, go ahead.
So, bottom line is avoid contact, take the city, occupy, defend the city. So the way we do that is through going through the left area, since the enemy is moving to the right.
So I don't want to. You're going to move up here or go
No, we're going to go the long way around.
this way.
Yep, even farther. We're going to go that way and keep going.
Okay,
Even through the wood line.
okay, okay, I just, what's your name again?
Brett.
Brett, okay,
So we're gonna go through the left, and we're gonna, again, avoid contact at all costs.
Okay.
Through wide dispersal of scouts and UW.
okay, so you're gonna do that with the mortars too? That's your advanced guard force right there. You didn't write it, what'd you write down?
I didn't take that.
What'd you write down?
Avoid contact, take city, occupy within, left, scouts and UW.
Okay,
I was gonna cross the river.
well, it's unfordable except right here, at the bridge, okay?
We'll forward it in those.
One more row.
Critique of Brett's course of action there. I'll call it the Chancellorsville option.
What if the enemy is just an advanced guard for a larger element as well?
Yeah, I thought about that.
Okay.
That's just, I mean,
That's just a risk.
yeah.
What else? Who else has got a critique?
The river is your marshmallow. So it's predicated on an insurmountable obstacle. Your plan is predicated on that river may not be fluid.
Yeah, if it's not portable.
It's not affordable.
I gotta readjust it. Of course, with that.
60 more seconds.
Okay, any other critiques? So I want to do one more decision and then go into a analysis of how the TDG works and how it builds toward mission command. Any other critique of Brett's decision?
Well, I guess like the other thing too is that you're setting the conditions for those follow-on forces. And depending on how long it takes you to accomplish your mission, you may actually jeopardize their ability to do what they need to do.
Okay. Any other critiques of his decision?
Yeah, but I think taking into consideration the river, what I would do is getting out as fast as we can towards the bridge.
No, you made an assumption that you could cross it, you found out you couldn't, but you can't.
Okay, yeah.
You're already doing the flank stuff there, okay? So, anybody else has a critique of Brett? Yes. Okay, you want to give your code next?
I'm an 15 pilot. I know nothing about infantry tactics. As an naval aviator, damn the SA-29 is my close air support. Just kidding. Okay, so this is what I wrote. Set up an ambush behind the ridge, engage the enemy as he comes across it.
Say that again.
Set up an ambush behind the ridge and engage the enemy as he comes across it.
Where at?
Basically between the field,
And somewhere in here?
well, down in the wooded area,
Down here?
or right behind the 300-foot ridge.
Right here?
Yeah, a little
Right here?
to the south.
Right?
It's okay.
Huh?
Yeah, really.
Okay. So you're going to move your platoon here, establish an ambush on the force coming through the gap.
Yes.
Is that cool? Is that what you write? Is that what? Okay.
I'm thinking maybe, I think there are.
Okay, critique. What's your critique, Brett?
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna make it in time to set up an ambush. I think they'll, in my opinion, they're going towards the bridge and the city. So they're already past you.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. What's your name?
Emma,
Emma, where are you at? Where are you at right now?
that's a government.
Okay, cool. Welcome, this is cool. What do you think?
I am military as far as I served and I am now separated, so I'm still my course of action is not very detailed, but
I'm not asking you, what's your critique?
my critique is that the enemy element is company size plus, and we're a platoon.
Okay.
So the engaging of it and I don't disagree with moving forward as far as an LB as the mission calls for, but as far as a plan to engage an enemy that is 3 times as large as us, I don't think is a very good idea.
Why?
Because all we know of it is sort of northeast direction, that it's 180 approximately, and that's all that we know. And it's the enemy. We don't know what their purpose is or exactly what it is they're doing. We just know a little bit about their size and direction. That's it.
Okay. Any other critiques? What's your friend name?
Ben.
Ben, I'm sorry, I apologize. Any more critiques of Ben's course of action? I just call it the reverse slope ambush. What's your course of action now? I will add one more, because you were like really proactive about providing your course of action. So what did you do as a platoon leader at 0600 hours?
Look at me.
No, her. Emma.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't worry, Emma.
I thought you were talking to someone back there.
No.
Say the question again, please.
Emma, what did you do? What was your decision? Because you wanted to provide your decision. I said, no, you're critiquing the current or the last course of
What I
action.
wrote down was LD as scheduled,
Yeah.
but being aware of the situation, the enemy being what it is in the direction we're going. Acknowledging ourselves.
Let's just move out.
Just
Yes.
move out.
Yeah,
Continue your mission as the advanced guard.
yeah, and, I mean, I didn't write it down, but continue to, assess our environment as we can. We don't have problems with it. We can be eyes, as we're moving.
Okay. Critique of Emma's decision. Go ahead, speak up.
Well, it makes sense. You are the advanced guard. You're supposed to keep the company safe. So,
Okay.
you get running in contact. With this contact,
I think the situation's changed.
How?
Well, now you have an unexpected variable.
What was that?
Well, it's worse now.
Okay.
So now we have an unexpected variable, you can't eliminate them from the equation. So I think we have to make a decision on what you're going to do. And so I think now with the course of action, just continuing as directed, and then, she did follow that up with the development that comes along. I think you elevated your level, greater than what it should be.
Okay. Any other critiques of Emma's course of action?
So I'll add some positive things, just judging from the terrain, ridge line, like you say, ROP is, as you move forward, you'll get in better line of sight with the ROP, you may be able to reestablish conflict, which may enable you to develop this, you understand the situation better and may enable you to develop it better. You can look at the terrain and there's, you keep terrain on that map, you point right out, the bridge, it's key terrain, right?
Mhm.
If that force gets to the bridge before you take control of that area, you've actually created a substantial setback for folks that are following you. So while I do agree that by moving forward, you're increasing the risk, you're also maintaining options for the folks that are following behind you. May not be able to defend for a long time against this force that's 6 times as big as I am. But in the right terrain, again, I got buildings, I got a ridge, I got some other things that can overwatch this bridge. I may be able to delay them, I may be able to disrupt them, and I may be able to buy some time to get some additional forces up there to create the situation that we want. Also, if I can reestablish communications with my OP, I got some orders, I may be able to disrupt them, delay them before I have to engage them. I can force them to change their mode of movement, slow down, to build some more time for the folks that are coming behind me. And while I don't have communications with my OP, I do have communications, I assume, back to my company headquarters.
Negative.
Okay.
They all went out.
I'm gonna hope for the best, because I know those are some high quality individuals and they can move fast when they get a mission. This is a high priority mission. I don't know, we're introducing more risk, but again, I can improve my communications by getting on higher ground and potentially regaining it. And I want to create options and maintain options that are available, not just for myself, because it's not about me. It's about this whole force that I'm a small piece of.
Okay. Any other comments about course of action before I move on? Go ahead, please.
Just one thing that I think any of the courses of action would need to take into consideration, and I'm sure that everybody did, which was the commander's intent. That he's trying to get to Smallville to get that cash, which then, that creates that key terrain for the bridge. So that drives what our course of action is, regardless of the communication situation. We still operate based on that intent to a certain extent. So anything that we do has to be focused on ensuring that the next echelon is able to accomplish what it's trying to do.
Okay. That's good. I'm sure I know what you did, Sean. You just like attacked.
No, I find a phone in one of the houses. Resell this phone.
Okay.
Calling Ben and F-18.
What I want to do is, the subject of my small discussion is how to develop leaders for Mission Command, the missing link. Okay? And I want to talk about how this TDG plays into this. First thing I want to ask you is, at what level do you think I apply that TDG? Tactical decision game. R at West Point is tactical decision exercise. Why? They changed the exercise from game. Because the board, the academic board for DMI, when Casey Haskins was running it in 2008, I told them it would happen, said you can't use the word games. Okay, it's fun. Got to be exercise. So they changed it to TM, tactical decision exercise, TDE. So you'll see in my literature TDE or TDG, but TDG is the translation from a German term. Okay, Kriegsspiel. So let's talk about, what do you think of this exercise and how it was applied? First question was, going back, where do you think I first presented this TDG?
Company every time.
Okay, company battalion. Huh?
Scout course?
Scout course. They've all played it.
But you're trying to instill or evaluate the ability of the higher command to be able to allow subordinates to use their mission command. So if you go scout, like, what mission command are they going to instill in a platoon?
I thought it was like like a lower level, like team leader, squad leader level. Talk about next level up. What are you going to do to enable 1 and 2 levels up after that?
The first day of Military Science 300, the first day when all the cadets filled in the basement room at Georgetown, all 30 of my students, I had two classes. It wasn't about, I'm going to read the syllabus and admin. It was the first thing they did was the TDG. Guess what the students did when I presented this TDG to them?
Sure.
What? No. What do you think they said? Huh?
That's not what we came here for?
No, they never said that. Huh?
This was fun, because they haven't learned.
That comes later. What else? Have not that, they said that, what else?
Not enough information?
They always say that. Every workshop, I've done this workshop 200 times now, and everyone always says, not enough information. They always say,
You
huh?
haven't taught us doctrine.
I have not taught you the what more than doctrine.
Yeah.
The way to do it, the
No,
right way.
close, close. You've not taught me the B starts with a B.
Basics.
The basics. Okay, what is it? Why did they say that, you think? It's ingrained for one. But when I get that, like I got at the Sergeant Major Academy a few years ago, I go right into another game, which I have every Sergeant Major write down, what do you think the basics are? Now, this is where I confuse them. I say, write 3 things down that you think compose the basics. And they write 3 things down, which is already contradicting what is the basic. Okay? What kind of answers? Come on in. Okay, good. Welcome. Glad you guys got here. What do you think they write down as the basics? 100-something Sergeant Majors at the Academy.
Wear your PT belt.
One wrote that. Uniformity.
Discipline.
Discipline is another big one. PT is another one. Some do say that. A couple did say that. Okay. I never get one answer. There's like almost 129 in that session answers. They're all different. Some are same. So what's that tell you?
The concept of the basics varies depending on the individual's assessment.
In the mind of most, the basics is some kind of skill, or it's a discipline type, like mass discipline. When we all look, there's 2 forms of discipline. They are mass discipline. What else? Self-discipline, which is more important. Self-discipline. You've got to teach self-discipline in order to do mission command. Okay, it's an all thing. So how do we do that? This is what this talk is about. We go. I saw General Dempsey's paper. Was it 3 years ago? He wrote that 7-page white paper. I remember the author you told me about. that was probably that was a mission command type direct. He gets into some ways and do it, and as you did, sir, I love what you said about the repertoire of building up knowledge. Okay, so how do we develop people for mission command? That's why do you think I call it the missing link?
We're supposed to actually take out some of the things. We're supposed to make things miss. We're not supposed to give them all the information and test them and let them stumble around and figure things out and then talk about what went well, what went wrong. Something's supposed to be missing from it in order for it to be successful.
We allow them to fail in a fail-safe environment. That's what it's all about. Okay, we make them struggle. Now, when I go like to the Logistics Staff College in December 2012, I got asked, why do we do infantry stuff? I was enlisted infantry, but I was an armor guy. Okay, and I do have some armor TDGs. So what do you think I tell them? Why do you think I use infantry stuff with non-infantry people, for example?
You got to think creative. That's got to think outside your normal mode of
Okay.
operation.
What else?
I think it simplifies it so you don't get all caught up with the actual physical systems. It's just guys.
I mean, they get more
Some of the
complex.
biases.
Yeah. You want to take people out of their comfort zone. Okay, so we want to take people out of their comfort zone. Why do I want, like last week when I was at Fort Campbell with a bunch of aviation captains, majors, lieutenant colonels, and lieutenants, you think I gave them aviation TDGs, which I have a whole bunch of them? No, I gave them TDGs they were uncomfortable with. Okay, I want to take you out of your comfort zone. Dealing with chaos, sir. It's dealing with chaos, okay? I want to take you out of your comfort zone. I want to set up a fail-safe environment where you can make decisions and fail without being punished, okay? So there's two things when we do a TDG that lead to the understanding of mission command and how to start this off. Like I said, I did this the first day of MS-300. I had some prior service guys from Fort Myer, from the old guard, that were on green and gold. But largely I had cadets that had come through the 2 years prior to that with a cadet command curriculum. This is 50 years out of date. And they know that, they're acknowledged that, which is really cool. General Combs and General Smith before have done a good job acknowledging that. So we have done that, but I'm not worried about their doctrinal answer. It's not about me, it's about them. So I look at two things when I start teaching people how to deal with mission command, when they do these TDGs or free play exercises. Make a timely decision. I said, not make a decision, but make a timely decision. Why did I say that like that?
Because a good decision now is better than
A bad decision now might be better than a great decision later. I watched 57 rotations at NTC as an OC and as Chief of Recon. I took all those little ledger books on every rotation, and I saw over and over battalion brigade commanders make great decisions, but they were too late because they wanted all the information, okay? And I've seen over and over, you make a timely decision, even if it's not a good decision, it's finally executed, it works, okay? So that's why I say make a timely decision. Now, on my TDG exams, which I changed all the exams we did, because it wasn't my effort, it was all our cadre effort, to TDG exercise, to the exams. So they didn't make a decision, it's automatic F. If you can't make a decision, then I need you to go somewhere else, okay? And there are people that won't make decisions. What do you think the second principle of evaluating ability to make decisions in mission command is? The second principle.
not being afraid to fail.
Huh?
Not being afraid to fail.
We're going to get to that. That builds something else, but thank you for, I'm going to put something in there because this is the ultimate desire right there, character. What do you think the second part of this is?
Communicate.
That's getting close. That's part of making the decision, by the way. And one of the reasons they exercise they write down is as they write down more and more through these, they get better at communicating. But you should hear some of the answers I get. The other reason, too, is as you're listening to one course of action and we say how great his course of action, oh, I'm going to change this. We're just competitive. I'm not questioning your ethics at all.
Is that tied to it right there? I mean, so one thing that, when you think about entrepreneurs, they fail a lot before they succeed, but they also pivot a lot on the way to
They learn.
success. So there's options, keeping the options open in there. I make a decision, but not a decision that closes all my options off, so I can pivot to a different.
I like that word, pivot. I was in the Pentagon on Thursday. I keep hearing about Secretary of Defense wants to change the personnel system. And then a guy I deal with a lot, the Honorable Mr. Carson, who I really admire, is just moved up, which is good because he's a good guy and he really gets this. But I'm like, I keep hearing change the personnel system. So I went around and gave books to all these people, okay? And I met a friend of mine of 20 years who's married to one of my ROTC buddies, and she brought up the word, well, we can't change it overnight. So when I hear people hear that word change, what do they start doing?
Thinking of money.
Money, and they start freaking out. They're like, so I say, use the word evolve. Words are important. Evolve, okay? We like in our past, I've studied our doctrine and German doctrine, French doctrine, and so forth, over the last 30 years. And we love using analogies with engineering to warfare. I use biology as an analogy to warfare because effective organisms do what? Evolve. Ones that don't evolve, what happens? They die. Okay, so evolve, we're a big organization, and a lot of people are working hard, as we've seen this morning, and we will see, to try to make it better. Okay, but when you start talking about change, like I said, this colonel is very experienced, and she said, we can't do that overnight. I want you to do it overnight. You got to start evolving things, okay? We're working with a personnel system right now based on assumptions made 1,500 years ago. Up or out was first introduced in what year? Do you know? The up or out. Anybody know? 1916. The Naval Personnel Act of 1916. It didn't work because it requires a big officer corps at the top to make it work. So they trashed it and then they reinvented it in 47, the Officer Personnel Act of 47, Eisenhower, Bradley, and so forth. And Marshall said, I don't want to go through what I just went through before World War II, which was having to fire 500 colonels and generals because they didn't have a system to get rid of them. So we're going to go with up or out. But to make up or out work, you have to have a bloated officer corps, okay? So the second thing is I want students to do is justify their decision in their own words. Justify their decision in their own words. Why do I word that like that?
Doesn't make sense to you, it's not gonna make sense to anybody else.
Okay.
Can you own it as far as saying, instead of having it be because it's status quo, that's how we've always done it, that's what doctrine says, or whatever, if you say it in your own words that the purpose for the decision you make is because you own it.
Hopefully.
By the way, it was a very good answer. You get the purposes of a great teacher. What we desire to be in a great teacher, and every great teacher should be also a great leader. But you're close, okay?
It also should hopefully reflect critical thought.
Justify in own words.
If I can't justify it in my own words, clearly I'm just giving you an answer that somebody else created. I can't explain why I would do that. It's just it's the school solution.
Exactly.
So it's critical thought.
And when I was working with DMI from 2008 to 2012, at West Point, the instructors were incredible backgrounds, incredible experience. Some with multiple commands and combat in Iraq, Afghanistan. They were egotistical is the wrong word. They were very confident. So they walk in and do these FM 7-8 slide programs. That was what they used to do, and they were the person. But it's not about that. They're trying to develop students to understand mission command and rapid decision making under pressure. So justifying your own words, it may not be the way you would word it, but again, it goes what Emma said: ownership of the learning. Okay, ownership of the learning. If they can justify it in their own words, you're building their character. Okay. Ultimately, what we want to build for success, for us to be successful in mission command, a culture of mission command, is we want leaders with strength of character. And you can evolve strength of character. Now, a lot of us have backgrounds that may not pivot itself, our upbringing, but the way you do it is, what did we have after each person presented their decision? What happened? They critiqued, and what did they have to do? They had to defend it. Okay, they had to defend it. So what do you think happens after this occurs time and time again?
Try to build relationship with the people that are critiquing you, and you build confidence in what you.
Build confidence. What else do you do?
You get better at justifying your course of action, you get better at explaining why you made the decision.
Okay, Tom?
You get better at the analysis
Yeah.
that goes into the decision and then being able to communicate that.
Exactly. So this is not a one-time thing. Over a semester, DMI, for example, does 50 to 60 of these over a semester, okay? And we did about the same number at Georgetown. And it did get fun. Whoever said that, they were looking forward to these. They said they weren't easy, but they were looking forward to them, okay? Because they were critiquing and they were getting better at taking criticism and justifying their decision. This starts to build strength of character. Okay, can someone define what strength of character is? What is strength of character? Because you hear the word character a lot. Oh, she's got character. He's got character. But again, it's one of those, I call the buzzword jeopardy. We love buzzword jeopardy. We use buzzwords without understanding what they mean. Okay, so what's strength of character?
Well, I think it's knowing who you are and being comfortable in your own skin.
Okay, that's pretty good. Anybody else? Ladies, what's strength of character? We have women leaders of strength of character too.
I think it's tied to the definition of moral character as well.
Okay, part of it.
Being that you can still make the decision even though you know that it's not going to be accepted or received well.
Okay. Anybody else? Strength of character.
Empathy, understanding, and appreciation.
That's part of it.
It's knowing your own convictions. I mean, there are things that I can live with and there are things that I can't live with. And being able to, in my own head, understand what those are. Because if it's not clear in my own head, how can I communicate with you?
Okay.
The default setting based on your ethic, your organization's ethic, and that when things go wrong, that's what you go to. And
Okay.
consistent.
Strength of character is the seeking of the joy in making decisions and seeking responsibility and taking responsibility in the face of peers, subordinates, superiors, and the enemy. Let me say that once more. Strength of character is the seeking of and even the joy in accepting responsibility and making decisions in the face of your peers, superiors, subordinates, and the enemy. What do you think about that definition?
I think it's absent of the fact that as leaders, you don't have all the answers. And so knowing who you are and taking joy in that and being able to make those decisions also, I think it just misses the recognition that where if you know yourself, you know there's weaknesses in your capabilities and knowledge and the ability to bring those in from other people.
Okay.
The more collaborative, I think it misses the more collaborative perspective of.
Okay, I'm going to tell you why it misses that in a second.
So you won't want to have this appropriate, to the appropriate responsibility.
Yeah.
You really don't want to have criminals just getting in there
Sure.
and taking decisions on this and saying,
Okay.
well, here's.
But accepting responsibility for your decisions. That's even key too. Yes, sir, I messed up. Yes, ma'am, I did not do that right. I have shocked superiors of mine when I've said that to them. They gave me this like, and this is what, but what's the difference between ignorance and stupidity? What do you think, Sean?
Ability to understand the difference.
Ignorance is, I tried something, it didn't work. Stupidity is, I'm going to do the same thing again, expecting different results. Okay? And I can't explain it. Huh? Yes. Okay, but this all comes in the strength of character. Now, the reason I go, and your name again, I'm sorry, excuse me.
It's Kelly.
Okay. The reason that definition needs to be redefined is because it came from the German Truppenführer manual, or not manual, but handbook of 1933. I use it because it's about the joy of taking responsibility and seeking. It's doing what's right when no one is looking, and that's what these TDGs start doing. What do you think?
I'm just laughing at the blue right now.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Anyway, so the final glue to this. I gave a real quick spill that usually takes hours or workshops, days, but I give a quick spill. The last part of developing mission command, before I go finally into this, is the purposes of a great teacher. There's two purposes of a great teacher. If there's a downfall in adaptive course methodology and OBTE, it's you need very good people to teach it. And I've had general officers, General Casey, for example, that asked me to, Don, I like the idea of OBT. General Dempsey asked me, well, I like the idea of OBT&E, but what's the downfall? I said, sir, the downfall is with the current industrial method of all TSPs and so forth, I can almost have my grandmother come in and teach them off a slide deck. Okay, so I'm mass producing people, but I'm not building the type of people we need, as the general pointed out earlier. Okay, so I need great teachers, not instructors, because instructors is an industrial term. I need great teachers to do this. But that great teacher, we need to start looking for that. There's two purposes, or two things a great teacher makes a great teacher. What's the first one you think?
Curiosity.
Close. Trust. That's inherent in all this stuff, but close. Close. These are traits, okay?
We talk,
But I'm talking about infusing in your students. Or the students see this.
we, as an instructor.
It's all right. I'm just letting you know where these terms come from.
That we try and, we talk about trying to get to the students is ownership of their learning.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to want to do it, and this level learning. I mean, and I know that's like a level learning is kind of a,
You just answered one, so did you earlier, Emma. If you take your students, if you get them to take ownership of learning, what occurs?
They teach themselves.
They start teaching themselves, and who else? What happened in the critiques? I did this for General Vangel when he was commander at Fort Sill. I did a different TDG, and I had one of the sergeant majors said, we're not going to learn from you, because we had to go over in the conference what we were going to do. It took 90 minutes, and they were discussing it back and forth, an ambush TDG, and all these different ways and all these justifications. He came up later and said, I was wrong. I learned a lot more than I didn't think I knew about ambushes. Okay? So you start taking ownership and you start learning from each other. What's the second thing of a great teacher? You've got to get people to start thinking of when they want to become inspired to be a great adaptability. Because they're going to see things from subordinates, from people that are a lot less aged than them, that are better than things they came up with.
They have to be able to accommodate and recognize that even if they're a subject matter expert,
Yeah.
that their perspective and their knowledge is based on their own experience and their own exposure to what they have learned personally. So they have to accommodate and acknowledge others.
Really close. They start seeing you saying, one of my two goals is I'm going to make you better than I am. I'm going to teach you not to make the mistakes I did. You're going to be better than I am. They start doing that. You start moving the mission command as you start establishing. It's not about me. It's not about my next promotion or getting great surveys. Because I'm going to tell you this, as Dr. Robert Bork at UCLA, and sir, I would recommend this. If you get him out to do a lecture, he gave a lecture to General Wallace. He is the leading learning guy in the country. He's the dean of the School of Psychology at UCLA. He gave a lecture in 2006 why the Army has training backwards. To all the TRADOC staff, of course, they sat there and said, we'll wait for him to leave and then we'll keep going what we're doing. But my point is when they start seeing this, Dr. Robert Bork, dean of he's got a great webpage, by the way. What he is told with TDGs and free play exercises is the same principle of how people learn. How people learn is through experiencing things and then getting to somehow evaluate what they just did. We all did this. I hope we all did this. When we touched a hot iron when we were little, what happened? Hopefully we didn't do it again. I know some people that have done it again, but my point is, a very simple example, my point is you learn from that by doing it. And so when people get on to me like, Don, you got to teach the basics first. Because I throw them into a problem, and then we start building from the problem. So in this, to close out my talk, Damien, how much time I got?
We're okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that.
To close this out, he says, I'm enjoying this. Keep going. Okay. the TDG here introduced, what do you think this TDG introduced to my aspiring juniors at Georgetown University, MS 300?
Principles of war.
Okay, how?
I mean, we just had a lively debate about speed versus security, about a whole host of different, about mass synchronization, all these things. So they come out in the conversation, doctrinal architecture after you've had the discussion.
They take ownership of it in their own words, and then you tell them, well, that might mean security through speed. I saw a great TDG by Chad Foster. He's fortunately going to take 110 cab at Carson on his way right now. He was a DMI instructor, teacher, and Chad taught one of the TDGs to teach Okoka. I know it's something different. And the cadet said, it's this, Okoka, how to read terrain. It's this in his own words. And then Chad said, well, in the last 5 minutes, he would introduce the doctrinal terms. Well, that's what we call Okoka. But the fact that the student did his own words, discovered for himself, he now takes ownership of that term. I didn't tell him from the top down like we do on rifle range. Now do this, do that, do this. Or on the sticks line, you've got to do this and this and this on this checklist. Okay, I want you to, what's discovery learning, which is the theory of discovery learning and adult education, to figure that out a little bit.
We use discovery learning as a very negative term. It's kind of.
Gotcha. Because it's not taught the right way. Every time I get that, I find out it's taught using the old method, which is called the competency theory developed by Frederick Taylor in the 1890s. Anybody know who Frederick Taylor is?
Taylor management.
Taylor. What did Taylor management do though?
Which is,
And then you had to follow a linear progression through those pieces.
Okay, that's where task condition standard came from, by the way. I'm a weird guy. I spent decades in libraries tracing all the textbooks of all the first people that went to HRC in the 50s. They went to Weldon Business School. I found out the textbooks, the theories they were studying, and it was all traced back to Frederick Taylorism. Okay, so we're managing people right now with Frederick Taylorism. And I have many G1s on that, and I bring up slides 67 through 100, I'll trace it for you. And I'll tell you where to go find it, and what textbooks they used, and what theories they applied. And then the next, this was the first class of majors out of World War II that went to Weldon Business School and became the new, I don't know what it was called then, personnel management branch of the G1. Okay. So what else did we do with this TDG?
Mission variables,
What's mission variable?
METTC.
Okay.
Right, they have to take into consideration all of those aspects, what the enemy's doing, what they're trying to do, what they've got, how much time they've got.
Okay. What else did we do? That's a buzzword. Okay. I teach a class at Benning right now called critical thinking. And I asked, again, I get the audience about this size. I said, what's critical thinking? How many answers do you think I get? What? A lot. Or I get the buzzword itself. Oh, we critically think. Critically thinking is actually simplified to, I'll get to you here. What regiment are you part of, by the way, from Britain? Okay, cool. My wife's from Glasgow, by the way. Yeah, I was waiting for you to say, oh, God forgive you. God bless you, for putting up with that. Because they are something else, man, the Scots. Critical thinking is the ability to critique oneself and get better. Okay. So what else did we get out of this? Yes, ma'am. You were going to ask. Go ahead.
Well, just like this, I think also our responsibility as teachers or instructors, how you want to call us, to structure it and actually deliver information as well.
Okay.
Because the free player I like a lot can then take ownership. At the end of the day, they've got to talk about language. So if you're a really good instructor, if you own it, you're also getting to understand the culture you're trying to get as well. So we talked about METTC, we talked about those variables that we want to get across. And we mustn't lose that in ourselves, that as much as our benefits, you still got a responsibility to get the objectives of learning across.
Exactly. But the way we do it is in adverse the way we've always done it. It's not none of our faults. The industrial method built the greatest industrial nation for a long time, and it was a good way to train masses of workers and soldiers to do what they, so whenever I hear it's all fucked up. No, at the time that people did it, what screwed up is we keep adhering to those things that are out of date assumptions, okay? Like I said, the Frederick Taylorism to manage personnel management. Putting a cog in a place because that's where the cog goes, and then applying the trade labor union or trade union career ladders, which were invented in the early 1900s. which is our career ladder we use today. That you have to be this long in this job, move to this position. Those are trade labor things that were invented about 1906 during the Progressive era. Okay, and the G1, the general staff, took these to the personnel system, and they evolved and were institutionalized in 1947 as Marshall's way to overcome the fact that they mobilized, and it was very scary having mobilized. We were very lucky because we had two opponents, the Japanese and Germans, that made incredibly horrible strategic mistakes and gave us the time, and the Allies bought time for us to build up this force. We're not going to have that anymore. Our leaders realize that. Okay. What else? Yes, ma'am.
Doing the exercise helps us to start confirming and denying assumptions that we've made based on the information that we've already given.
Now, I won't go into, because of time, I also teach pattern analysis and how to use facts and assumptions. So I start teaching people how to do AARs too, without going to the horrible 3 up, 3 right, and 3 wrong. Okay. I went and saw 20 AARs at summer LDAC in the summer of 2012. General Smith asked me to look at them, and 19 of them were 3 up, give me 3 good and 3 bad. One was done right. That one AAR was done exactly right, i.e. the students did all the talking and they said what they did not so good and what they need to do better. Because he went in there with 2 things he wanted to talk about, not 15, 2 things. And they were command and control and communication. Anything else? That was a good point.
You start building trust, teamwork by having to communicate your ideas and put them out there.
When people ask me what is the most important factor in making mission command work, it's a 5-letter word, and that's trust. It's very easily said, but trust is very hard to build. And you have to do it with the things I've just talked about, okay? Over time, continually. You start getting that reservoir, or in your schema, what's the reservoir of knowledge, and you start building up these things, and cadet now might be doing 100 in a school year. And he's had 100 critiques, he's defended them 100 times, he's found out different ways that he may not or she may not have known was a good way to do it, and they start building that up. And then they go to the field and do the free play exercise where you have a thinking enemy versus a scripted enemy. Anything else?
I have a question.
Yes, I hope you do.
So to me, this is a method to build, to use all the buzzwords, the agility, adaptive, critical thinker within a task force. It sounds like we're investing in the individual because they're able to, they're learning from each other, they're learning how to teach themselves, they're learning how to broaden their aperture, there's alternative options, stuff like that.
But the ultimate goal is building a leader of character.
But if it's on mission command, right? I guarantee that teacher is gonna, if they were gonna go to battle the next day, that teacher is better able to execute mission command with those individuals because he understands now how they think, how they process, what they're capable of. And so to build mission command is not, to me, it's not at this level. It's the ability for the person above them to be able to say, to go through this process with them in their unit.
Yep.
So that then they actually, because if I sit in a room as a commander and I listen to all my platoon leaders, dissect that, and I give them, you know what I'm saying? Like, this sounds like how you develop the individual. It's not give mission command, because if they trust each other, they've built a lateral.
This should be done at every place. This should be done. Now I have battalion commanders who were students of mine doing this weekly TDGs, like Scott Hattler, who's leaving command of 7th 101st CH-47 Battalion, but he commanded the Combined Aviation Battalion in Afghanistan last summer, and he had combined arms aviation, but he was doing TDGs every week. And I met half his officers, and they were like, this. I mean, they started making decisions faster and faster, more confident. But I brought up the cadet example is because going back to, we had a discussion yesterday. He says, well, one person said that's only good at the cadet level. Guess what? Anybody know about the Kriegs Academy? What was the Kriegs Academy? This was used weekly. What were the Kriegs Academy training or developing? What was the Kriegs Academy developing? Huh? The general staff, the brains of the Army. Okay, so I want
to be the teacher. Like, I want to be the teacher so that I understand.
And I want you to be the teacher.
So that when I can't communicate with them, I'm okay.
If
I know how much risk I'm going to accept.
Okay.
Accept with each.
I want you to be the teacher, and I don't want you to wait to go to a schoolhouse to do this. I want you to do it in units. Okay?
Right, I mean, being a teacher isn't something that just happens in the schoolhouse.
Right.
Everybody.
A good leader is a great teacher. Okay? A good leader is a great teacher.
And you're absolutely right. Where's the emphasis?
We're starting it right now.
But
Look who's sitting in this audience.
I agree 100%, but it has to be, that, this is a complete revolution in the way we do things. It has to be that.
Right.
Because it's not.
But it's starting to happen. Like I said, I've got a student heading out to Carson to take 110 cab, got one leaving the battalion, command is going to War College. I got a student that just wrote a great paper on John Boyd at Marine Corps Command and Staff, who's going to Saul next summer, and he worked for General Dunford. General Dunford's reading this stuff. So it's getting there. We've got a brigadier general here that's talking with us about it, participate. No, that's important. It's important because when I teach my workshop, the missing link is usually the senior leaders. They invite me, they pay for me, but they don't come to the workshop. They say, check in or take me to lunch. Okay? And all the things that we're talking about, they miss. But it's not directed at them, it's how to get better. That's what I tell them. Evolution's about how to get better. It's not a critique of you. Okay? When you know, war evolves. So at one point we were doing mass linear tactics, mass linear attrition warfare, and then maneuver warfare. What is next? What's the evolution going to next? Okay, but the principles of how to develop the brain and make people more confident and better have not changed. We just have not discovered them yet. Okay, or we've ignored them. Because they are very difficult to put together. This is not, I will tell you the weakness. Okay? Most people would rather have a TSP handle with a slide deck, and they're going to give you some knowledge, but you're only going to retain 10% of it. But Dr. Borg has found out you're going to retain 70% of this or more. If you have to struggle with it, if you don't like it, I'm not going to give you a student survey right after my class, which I did not do at Georgetown when I taught graduate school, because the graduate students hated me. Okay, until the very end, and they started, man, he made us think and struggle through this. Okay, he didn't give us the answer or the checklist. The cadets did too. This guy's crazy. They usually give us the day-by-day schedule, what we're going to do, what we have to read. I'm not giving you any of that. I want you to discover it, okay? And now I'll open up the questions. I got a couple minutes. But good question. Thank you, by the way. But I want you to do that. You answer your own question. Okay, I'll just give this example to show you what I did at what level, why I did it. The other thing, too, I said the word advanced guard. And last week, I was teaching NCOs, senior NCOs at Benny from 316, because I wanted to say, when you did introduce doctrine at the very end, I said, what was that advanced guard? Three of them, we did this TDG right here. What was three things the advanced guard, or one thing the advanced guard does for you? Provide security, right? And enable you to keep moving. Okay, upon contact, what three things does the advanced guard do? What's three options for the advanced guard? I know you know, sir. They withdraw. What? What else? Attack or defend. Now, how many people really do that just now? Be honest. Okay, but I just introduced doctrine last week, but they saw it in action. And the NCOs came up to me and says, that made sense that way. Because the old way, I'll give you a slide. On this page, it says this. This is what advanced guard does. And no, I want to make you live it. Okay, so that was another thing. I just introduced you what the advanced guard does. Yes, please.
It's a question that gentleman here. So this is revolutionary. I know I'm not signing it, but I just don't know why this is revolutionary.
But it's revolutionary in practice. So, I think you won't, if you survey leaders across the board in the military, you won't find a single leader that says, yeah, this is the absolute, this is wrong. You won't find too many of those. But what happens is you have culture from the institutions, the education process, to just the cultures of individual units, that finding a true leader or learning organization in the military is a rarity, where that culture of learning, the culture of making the organization and your soldiers better, we talk about it, we pay lip service to it, but how often is that truly practiced? I can think of one unit.
If I could just, we've always struggled with this since Valley Forge. We've struggled with this, and we oscillate back and forth. And there are points of excellence, and there are points of tragedy. And as each one of us has navigated our own set of personal anecdotes in that, we've had a different percentage of experiences with that. But the Army, there are factors that always mitigate against this kind of leader development that you're talking about.
Right.
Leaders are very busy. We all have to weed through our inbox for 3 to 4 hours every day. All those kinds of things that we deal with every day. And I think the point that Don is making is we've got to move that Our struggle here is to move that needle back to the last of more. But to say that we're broken right now, I think would overcharacterize, generalize a set of personal experiences that may not be the same for everyone.
No, absolutely. And if we were broken, if we were truly broken, we wouldn't even be talking about it. There wouldn't be.
Like I said, the fact is we're all sitting here is a very good thing. I call this the new military gazelle shaft or military organization. Scharnhurst started in 1801 when they weren't supposed to. We're allowed to though. Okay, we just got to get the ideals spread everywhere, and the value is backed up by scientific. One last thing I want to point out with more questions is I'm starting to show cadets. I did this with captains and lieutenants too. Is the mission statement, which initially was the advanced guard, is a short-term contract. The commander's intent is the long-term contract. The commander empowers me to do something and allows me, because he trusts me and empowers me and he's developed me. That's the misnomer about mission commands. Whenever I hear you're going to allow lieutenants to go crazy all over the battlefield. Now, first thing I'm going to do is spend a lot of time, an incredible amount of time developing, because this is the PhD level of command culture. Aufsichtstaktik, a German word, which is badly translated to mission command. Okay? But the long-term intent, I'm going to let you change that short-term contract as long as you meet my long-term contract. The long-term contract, now that everyone played this, is seizure of Smallville. So you may come up here and decide, hey, the advanced guard, I know they're coming now. Somebody said that. I just changed the factor. You did in the corner, the variable. Now I know that they're coming. I'm expecting contact, so I'm going to form an ambush up here on this ridge and hold this key, the crossroads there. I can do that even though I'm not in communication, because I'm still going to meet the commander's intent, but I'm just going to disrupt and maybe stop him until the rest of the forces come up. That's one option a student gave me last week. You see what I'm saying? So I just taught them through their ability to experience this, what mission statement is and what commander's intent. Commander's intent should always be my vision of success. And that intent, which I teach a class, by the way, at Benning 2, how to write commander's intent and outcomes. Define success so your subordinates can go do what they got to do to meet that success without telling them the how to. That's very difficult. It's not easy. We don't do it very well. And it's not the Army's fault. Look at our public school system right now. Leave no child behind. What kind of education system is that? If it is an education, it's a training system, a rote memorization of a test. Okay. What is that?
It keeps them from advancing children.
Well, we're not. I say the national crisis in America, one of them right now, we're not creating problem solvers. Okay. Because our school system is all about statistics, short-term statistics, which they dump 90% of it the day after they take the test. Okay. Any other questions?
I'll push back again.
That's fine. I want you to.
As a culture, we are more entrepreneurial, innovative than we've ever been. Our economy is coming and creating more opportunities for other people, which are solving very tangible problems. I mean, maybe collectively, 90% of humanity isn't that, but all you need is the 5% to be explosively creative,
Okay.
and you get immense outcomes. I agree in general, but I think to say our whole culture is not creating problem solvers.
I'm saying the public school system is not.
Okay.
Okay.
But even so, you look at.
But even the culture's not, because I'm starting to write another book about zero defects in society. Fairfax County, for example, we're not going to play tag anymore because it's violent. What does games like that do for kids? Okay. Or I expect you, or the parents that got in trouble for the kids being a mile away at the playground recently. And I when I was growing up, man, we were all over the place and we were like solving problems all the time. Okay. I put something on Facebook recently about, when we grew up, we could do all this stuff. I remember building a mini bike out of a frame we found, and we forgot to put the brakes on it. So I'm riding down the road, man. I'm like, man, this thing ain't stopping, man. I'm in trouble. I'm like 12 years old. Okay, so we did all this great innovation, building it. My dad said, you figure it out. My dad's rule was, you can use my tools, but you better put them back in place. And the other thing is, be up on the porch when the street light comes on. That was his 2 rules. And not talking back to him, but we knew that. Anyway, so I'm riding this mini bike down the road like 20 miles an hour. I'm like, the damn brakes on. What's this? It's not. I can't stop. I put my feet down and I started burning the soles out of my shoe. So at the end of the road, a little road, we live in the country, I see a hedgerow. I'm going to hit that thing and stop me. And that's what I did. Okay. So, but I learned from it. It didn't kill me. But you see my point? If that happened now, what would probably be the kickback? Social services would be like, where were my parents? Not. They loved us to death, but they gave us a lot of leeway as long as we were respectful to people and we didn't commit crimes.
Because
Okay?
while there was some amount of backlash for the, parents who got in trouble for letting their kids go a mile away, last week CPS was called on them again because they let those kids walk the 2.5 blocks from the school bus stop to their homes. So people can backlash, but the government is still.
My bigger point is when we get this, we have an obligation. The reason I stay so passionate about this is I think the Army is one of the main value-based entities. We still have a lot of good trades. I'm critical because I love arguing something I love, okay? But I think we are one of the last bastions that can take these young people and make them better through character, building a character and problem solving. That's why I really push this stuff, because it works. I did it with Georgetown. I threw out the entire Cadet Command curriculum, rewrote it to do all this. They did it at DMI and Casey Haskins. They did it at Army Recon course, and they're doing some other Lurch D. We just did Lurch D, sir, 3 weeks ago. They're changing their whole POI. I did 19 NCOs that run the course. They're changing their whole POI to do all this stuff. But they've been emailing the crap out. Man, we're doing this, like, just do it. Don't show me. Oh, wait, any other questions? If you got,
This will
Yeah.
be the last question. Before we break lunch.
if you got, I got pamphlets up here, what I do, cards, and then this was the runner-up in the 2012 AUSA ARC writing contest. It was number 2, so. Okay. Okay, thank you.